Oh,
Jason, what's up,
What's
dude?
going on?
Man, you guys are on the road. A beautiful backdrop you got there. Or is this like a CGI type situation? What are we looking at?
I'm not that good at technology, man. I wish I was.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah,
Beautiful, beautiful.
I'm in El Salvador right now.
How's that going? You guys got like a week-long stretch going? Is that a month-long deal? What's
Nah,
that?
it's only 7 shows, but
Okay.
we're out for like 13 days in total. Um, so we had a couple days in Colombia, and then we did 2 shows, one in Medellin, one in Bogota, and then we did yesterday was Costa Rica, and then today is San Salvador, which is really awesome for me, especially because my family's from here. So yeah, and then we're chilling here for like 3 more days, 4 more days, and then we go to Mexico and do 2 shows in Mexico.
Dang.
so
Any of
sick.
these spots like first time hits for you guys?
Yeah, the first one is Colombia. We haven't played Colombia before, so that was really cool.
And those
Um,
pictures look sick. It looked like those shows went off. Like it looked. I mean, that's got to feel so good to just be like, we've never been here, but yeah, here's our welcome, right? Like,
yeah, it's wild, man. It's wild to finally go there. I've been wanting to go there just in general, to the country, and just like I hear nothing but great things about that place. And talking to all the kids there, and just young and older guys, like telling us how long they've been waiting for us to go down there. Like there's dudes there that brought like, our like Hasta la Muerte LP, and like the Tierra LP, like for us to sign and shit. And I'm like, damn, like you guys been writing that hard for us for that long, like I don't think about it because I'm just we do our thing. And yeah, it's like it's awesome to know that we're supported in all these different places, and we feel the love for sure, man.
Yeah, not rich, man.
100%.
And I mean, it's so sick, just even having, this opportunity, you guys being out on the road too. And I mean, at any point, if something pops up or you guys are having to book, let us know, and we can figure something out too. Like life on the road can be kind of, every once in a while a lot of bores, but then also like, hey, we gotta go, man. Something came up, and
Yeah,
we gotta check out another spot for the show.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
I mean, Jeremy, if you want to kick us off, as far as like, even just early on with you, Jason, and how how music became involved to you.
So I would say as far back as oh shit, the wind's getting crazy over here. Um, uh, I'm afraid of this tree behind me, man.
See, anything can happen.
See?
Yeah. So yeah. How's the audio? Is it all right? You can
Yeah,
hear me all right?
Excellent.
yeah.
I
Sound great.
I had my Beats headphones on, but I couldn't hear you. I don't know. Maybe I should try again and see if it's I could. But
Oh,
anyway,
good. Okay.
so yeah. Anyway, I would say like probably 12 years old, I started to really like listen to music and like really like, like you're hearing music but you're not listening, and like that I would say that's when I finally became cognizant of, guitar, the drums, like um, bef- way before that, like reading the lyrics, obviously, is like the first thing that everyone kind of comprehends. But the guitar is like the first thing that, like, besides the lyrics, and I was like, man, like, how do they play that? Like, because nobody in my family is a musician or anything. So
Okay.
I was the first one, and I started to listen to that, and I tried guitar for like maybe a month, and that shit was too hard, so I gave up. And then and, and I guess that's why I play drums. uh, Guitar was
Okay.
too hard, man. But yeah, and then I started to listen to drums and to the drums, and I was listening to a lot of Green Day at that time. Just like stuff that was like available, readily available, like on the radio or on TV. Of course, Limp Bizkit, Rage,
Hey. Yeah.
um,
Speaking my
what else, man?
language.
Slipknot, Mudvayne, like like all that shit.
Dang.
And yeah, just like really anything. And also as far as like heavy music goes and like rock music in general, nobody was listening to that in my household either. So that was also something I discovered on my own, and later through other friends, like in high school and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of like what got me early on, like down that path.
When what you kind of mentioned like that moment in like high school or even middle school or whatnot, was that something where you were like falling into like different buddies having those same interests, or was there kind of like a blend going on where someone was a little bit more into punk, or they're talking like Rancid or NoFX, and you're like, I'm not really steering there, I'm liking some of the heavier stuff, or was that like kind of a wheelhouse too?
Yeah, so like I never really had any friends that were like straight into punk music at all, really. Most of my friends were into like new metal, or like early, like the starter metal bands, and yeah, I kind of like that was kind of my thing. Once I knew what kind of music I did like, I was like dead set on like heavy music. That was kind of like a thing that I would look for in like kids that I would like try and be friends with. First off, you see a shirt and I'm like, oh, sick. Like, this kid and me are gonna be friends.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
like I would say 8th grade. This is gonna sound so corny, and I can't believe I'm gonna tell this story, but 8th grade. So my best friend, we're still homies to this day. John. We became friends because we're both Salvadorian, for one, and two, through music we became friends, and we started to collect this whole group of dudes, and we all loved Slipknot. This is like they were huge at this time, right? The self-titled come out, and I think shortly after, when did Iowa come out? Was
That
that
would have had to be probably around 2000,
2002, 2003.
2001 or 2.
Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. So yeah, like we were all huge Slipknot fans, and oh man, this is so cringy, but we used to call ourselves the maggots at school.
Hell yeah!
And
What else would you call yourself?
no, but it got
I mean,
it got so crazy that the whole school, our junior high was pretty small. Our whole school came to know us as the maggots. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Dude,
there
so
was
sick.
one day where we all decided we were going to wear our jumpsuits to school, and we all bought one. Yeah, yeah,
yes.
Oh my God, dude.
So what you're telling me is we would have been best friends in high school. Is what you're telling me.
Right.
Like
I'm like,
feel like you're just like, I'm like, wait a minute, did you guys talk and like share my story? Like, this is kind of whack, bro. Like, live your own life. But no, like, I'm right there, dude. Same.
My buddy John I'm talking about is in the chat now. He's watching.
Oh man, dude.
What's up, John? Is that Johnny Thunders? Shout out, John.
Johnny Thunder.
Let's go, maggots. Do it for the maggots.
God. Listen, it's funny. I mean, like, not even to tell like a long story, but like you kind of mentioning something like that. My buddy and I, my best friend Ryan and I, when we were coming up in school, Slipknot and Mudvayne was our thing. And they were coming to town they were playing like a show. And we both dressed up as members of Mudvayne for the concert, only to find out when we got there that Mudvayne wasn't even playing. They dropped the show. So like everybody's like, Mudvayne's not playing, right? We're like, dude, I know. We saw the flyer. Like, we understand. But it's just like, what are those relatable things where like everybody kind of knew at school, and they're like, oh, dude, Mudvayne dropped the show. Like, how bummed were you guys? Yeah. Just one of those things. I love that, man. That's so. I mean, were you playing like drums in school?
So I didn't get my first drum set until freshman. So I was about 13.
Okay.
Yeah, 13, 14. Before that, I was just like playing on everything in the house. Just like every other drummer. Playing with your fingers, playing with the wooden spoons. My mom taught the classic shit.
Yeah.
and then I finally asked my dad for a drum set, and it was after I had asked him for a guitar, and my dad, back
Oh
then
no.
had didn't have the longest fuse, so I was really scared to ask him, and I had like talked to my mom before, and I told her about it, and she goes, "You should just ask your daddy. You just ask him." I'm like, "Oh, sure, you know how he is." I was like, "He just bought me the guitar like a month ago, like
I can't switch it up
yeah."
now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I go and ask him. Dude, it took me forever to go finally ask him. I finally went to ask him, and this is why my mother is the best person ever. I go, "Hey Dad, like I'm really sorry, but I don't really like the guitar anymore, but I really want to try the drums, and I really think that I could do well on the drums." And he looks at me, he goes, "No problem, no problem." He's like, "Just give me some time and get the money together, and I'll get you the drums." And I walk away. I go, "Who the fuck was that?"
You're like, that was not.
No, that's
Man.
not how that usually goes. There would have been yelling, a lot of cussing, a lot of what do you think I do every day? Don't you think I go to work? I work hard, blah, blah. So
You ask for like a 20-piece chicken nugget instead of the 10-piece, and that's the
Yeah.
response.
yeah,
But it's like, here I'm asking for a
yeah.
drum set. This is completely different, but beautiful. I mean, how cool, and like, is that kind of like the story of how that first kit came about then?
Oh, totally, yeah. So as soon as he bought me,
Dude.
that, I got it. Maybe like a month later, and he luckily had a friend from work who was a drummer, and I had only played a drum set maybe once or twice before that. My friend in school, Cullen, he was a drummer. He was like an all around like crazy musician. Like this dude was like a pianist, a guitar player, a drummer, like totally just like wild dude. And he was like one of the friends that got me into Van Halen. Like showed me Pantera. He showed me like other stuff that like I was like, who the hell are these bands? Because his dad was like an old '70s rocker, so
Mm-hmm.
he had like he knew everything that you needed to know at fucking 13 years old, 14 years old, had all the bands, And I was at his house one day, and he let me play his drum set, and he showed me Paranoid, and that was my first time playing the drums. And then fast forward to when my dad's friend comes. He like sets up the drum set, like gets the height right and everything. He's like, "How does this feel?" I was like, "Oh, this feels good." And he's like, "Hey, let me show you a beat." He goes, "Maybe see if you could try and do this." I was like, "All right." And he shows me "Smoke on the Water," like just a, and he's like, "Let's see if you could do that." And then I fucking do it, no problem. And he's like, "Yo, man," he's like, "I thought you said your son doesn't know how to play the drums." He's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "This kid just played that beat like no problem." And then he's like, "Hey," he's like, "Just go off, man. Just do whatever." And then I started to play the beat, the Paranoid beat, and then I just started to go off. And he's like, "What the hell?" He's like, "Your son's a drummer, man." He's like, "Will, your kid's a drummer." And then right then, my dad's face changed. He goes, "Hell yeah, I didn't waste my money."
Awesome. I mean, yeah, that's kind of like one of those relief things where it's like, okay, all right, we don't have to go another step further with something else. Like,
Yeah,
thank God. But
yeah,
that's funny that you say that too, because like there's different times where I feel like drums is one of those things that it's hard to feel like you've just kind of like stumbled into it and like you have already a feel for it. But I just feel like that happens sometimes. Now there's other times that you're trying to show somebody and it's like an octopus that has no idea how to figure its way about moving in general. You're like, oh my God. I mean, like, when you first get that kit, like, how does, getting involved in like starting a band, or how does any of that work for you as far as meeting up with others to play?
So I would say freshman year, my friend Pedro at the time, he was like he was a singer, screamer, whatever. Like, he knew a couple guys, oh, and then my other friend Daniel, he was a bass or guitarist, and he had a couple friends, and we all kind of just like, I was like, hey, oh, sorry, no, this is how it went. My friend Pedro comes up to me, and he goes, hey, dude, he's like, we haven't known each other that long. He goes, but by any chance, do you play the drums? Random as hell, because a couple of his homies play guitar and bass, and I go, yeah, dude, I actually just got my drum set, like 6 months ago, whatever, and he's like, dude, he's like, I know some guys that want to play, but we've been looking for a drummer. And, drummers are always like hard to find, right? And he's like, man, he's like, come by my friend Sean's house, tomorrow, whatever. And his parents aren't home. We can jam at his house for like 3 hours, whatever. I was like, all right, cool, man. He's like, I was like, I'll get there however I can. And yeah, and that was my first band, freshman year. Played my first show freshman year, and
Right at it.
fell in love with it from that day on.
Man, like, you know what? Just for, kind of like fun added information with that, like, what were influences when you guys were doing that? Was this more of kind of like a Slipknot, Mudvayne, or were there some, Pantera kind of chuggy moments, or, like, what was it a full-on kind of, rip thing where you had the two singers going? These were all moments we went through, I think.
So like, our influences were so just all over the place, man. Like, I was I was already listening to Slayer at that time, and I was into Pantera, and I think I had gotten into Morbid Angel, and so like, I still loved Slipknot and Mudvayne and other stuff like that, but I was starting to like go like harder, and like trying to like discover that. And some of the other guys in the band were like strictly just, one friend only listened to Slayer and like Pantera, and then the other dude listened to like more like I don't know, like more new metal stuff, but like he liked to incorporate really like, clean parts with like heavy parts, and then my singer, or my friend Pedro, who's the singer, was like more like I, I don't know, really just like to do high pitched vocals. He loved to just like scream, and I guess the music, it was just a fucking mix of just like, oh, that part's cool, yeah, let's keep that part, and it's like, oh, I got this drum break, and let's do that. Hey, what do you got? All right, yeah, do that. And then it's just like,
so like 20 ideas in one song, and it's like we want to make sure people know what bands we like.
Yeah, and we didn't yet discover the whole, hey man, that idea sucks, dude. Yeah. Like let's not use that. It doesn't make any sense. And this is also before we discovered how to do transitions in songs. So we would literally go from one part to the next and just stop, and then 4 count. Yeah.
Oh man.
We had no idea. Non-stop.
Yeah, we had no idea how to transition cleanly into the next part. So that tells you a lot.
I mean,
you want to know the name of the band?
Absolutely.
It's horrible, but okay. Pessimistic by nature.
Dude, I mean, that's pretty hard. I feel like that could be something around nowadays.
It's kind of like hardcore mixed with like naughty by nature. It's like you're bringing it all together. It's,
Yeah.
It's like we're not naughty, we're pessimistic.
Yeah.
Shit sucks.
Yeah.
Homerooms sucks, bro.
High school sucks,
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I don't want to be home by 10. My day's gonna suck now.
Yeah.
Pessimistic.
What do you think? I smoke weed every time.
I got a bad attitude.
Oh, dude, I love that. I mean, it's like it's so sick too. I mean, you even mentioned like the aspect of that thought of being in a band and kind of calling out a moment where it's like, yo, this doesn't fit. This doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, was it kind of like a process over years as far as, you know, multiple bands that you were in to where you were kind of feeling like you were figuring out, hey, there should be kind of a mold to this and these things should make sense? Like, where did that click?
I would say it clicked when I started to jam with my buddy Chris. So that band broke up. I think we were a band for like a year. We played like a handful of shows, and you know, I was like dead set on keeping it going, and other guys in the band were kind of like whatever. So, you know, I started jamming with my buddy Chris and my buddy Steve, and then we would jam after school every day. So we had so much time at his house to just like I would tell I would tell them like what would go wrong at practice with the other band. And I was like, it just doesn't make any sense, you know? And then they'd be like, yeah. And they weren't in any bands before we started to jam. So I kind of brought like some knowledge to that. And we kind of just like really just started to figure it out on our own. And we started to really listen to bands that we liked more. It was like, hey, they don't stop and do a 4 count every time. Like, how do we do that? And so we kind of just started to figure it out on our own, really, just like trial and error. And, you know, and the next thing that we would do that was hilarious was like just play a breakdown for like 10 minutes long. You know, but
still a move. I mean, you know, well, why not?
Yeah.
Hey, when the rip hits, the rip hits. Sometimes you just gotta like let it hit.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people just call that doom metal. Yeah. It's sick.
True.
You know.
Touche. I mean, like, what, you know, so from that earlier kit, you know, through today, what do you find yourself, you know, kind of at your comfort zone as far as your kit? I've seen like Minel that you're using, but as far as your drums, one thing I'll say specifically that I always notice about Xibalba, other than, you know, like Nate's vocals, very distinct, your snare. Mm-hmm. I feel like I hear the band and I'm like, yeah, it's Xibalba. Well, yeah. Like, give us some feedback on some of that.
So I used a so I had my original Pearl export kit for years. I used that thing forever, man. And then that thing got destroyed. I fucked up and left it out in the rain, and I got very careless with it, and that thing got destroyed, and like the bass drum was fucked up, and I think I kept the rack toms and the 4 tom, and then I kind of like borrowed kits after that for a while, and then I got a pork pie kit later on, and I had the snare. Well, I had the snare first, actually. I had the 13-inch, the little squealer pork pie snare. I think it's maple. I had that thing forever, and I used that one a lot. And man, I actually barely just got a new snare like a couple months ago. I was using that thing for years.
Is that what's on Aslan?
No, the one that's on Aslan is it's the studio snare that Taylor had. It's the SJC.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. But
was that the same as like what you? Because I know you guys had worked with Taylor before.
Yeah.
Was that the same snare, or is this like a different snare even from what you'd had on?
Nah, different.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Shit. Wow.
But like, I always try and keep like similar sounding snares. Like I just love like fat, just thick, just sounding, you know, like cracked snares. You know, like yeah. It's I don't like them too high pitched. I mean, on some of the records, on some of the splits we have, it is kind of pingy, kind of almost like Saint Anger-y, like on the early stuff. But then later on, I was like, all right, yeah, I don't really like that. Like, but the snare sound on Aslan is my favorite by far.
It does sound dope. So you're saying you like your snare to have that weight to it. You don't want it to be too thin sound. You want that weight, that thickness to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Gotcha. See, I agree. I think the snare sounds great, but we're gonna get really overly in depth on some drum stuff, and that's cool with me because for me, I'd actually say when I think of Xibalba and your drumming, the thing that I always have loved and it's always brought me like why Xibalba is one of my favorite bands, like, period, is the toms, the weight of the toms. When I hear that tom get hit, it just feels like there's more weight to it than other things. And obviously, I know like that's a lot to do with like how it's tracked and the mic and all that. But I'm just wondering if there's anything you're like, I've got to have this specific sized floor tom. I got to have this kind of like my rack tom. Like just if there's anything that you do specialize for that, or if it's just like it's really just my playing or whatever it is.
Yeah, usually I've always used 10, like the 10, 12, 16. But I really like to tune my toms low. Like,
Yeah.
I like them low. Yeah. My floor tom, man, I it's almost like just loose as fuck. It's almost like it's barely tightened. It's funny. One time, well, actually that time I told you about where I left the drum set in the rain, the floor tom, it got, so it had water in between the two layers of the head, and it's really crazy because after that I played that same kit for a minute before it finally went to shit. But that water in between the two heads and me tuning it so low, it gave it this crazy like depth to it, and it was wild, man. I was like, dude, what the hell? Like, and then fast forward, I forget the drummer, but I seen him putting like little bits of water on his toms and like pressing water into the heads. Yeah.
I've never heard of that, but I've seen. I'm sure you guys both as drummers have seen them. But like they do make the heads that have like they're two ply or whatever, and there's like a grease in the between. But is this the same thing as that, or is this different than that?
I've never heard of that.
I don't know. I just know what it sounded like after the rain got caught in the water got caught in the head.
Just Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Making sick tones over here.
Yeah.
Dang.
I think I might go home and pour some water in my drums.
I think we got to figure this out. Like we got to know, like, is this the secret? Like maybe, like the pit can start that's going to be the signature drum sound. Yeah. Like I got my,
Yeah, I've never heard of that before. I mean, I think it's always been kind of like, maybe it could be comparable. I mean, like with Jeremy, as far as like with like strings to your guitar, but like my thing with skins, I think, especially with like how expensive things are nowadays, I feel like it's like one of those things where I'm almost a little nervous to like veer off from what I'm comfortable with. But if I don't, it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, this is super out. Like I found some skins for a whole set for $15. Like, yo, I'll try it. Like, but that's not, from like, from a standpoint of, sound. That's more of just a thing like, oh, it's cheaper, really.
Yeah.
With all that said, no joke, as a guitar player to two drummers, the public service announcement, like, you guys get a raw deal. It's not fair. Like skins for, like, it's just like, it's not fair. So first off, come on, companies, let's start sending these dudes some free shit. And secondly, bands, suck it up. Like, the drummers make it. I'm the guitar player. I get it. Like, they should get more than we get. Because basically they're broke because they have, like, you guys have to spend $7,000 every 3 months just to keep playing.
The cymbals, man.
The cymbals. Oh my god, dude.
Oh,
it never gets
nightmare.
It never gets sold when somebody asks me, like, how much did this cymbal cost? And I tell them, and they're like,
and you just hit it.
That's why
you just hit it.
That's why you drill holes when cracks start to happen.
Yeah.
You try to find like a Dremel tool or something that you can kind of cut around it. And, like that was. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that too, because I remember being younger and going to local shows and seeing like drummers with like cymbals like that. And I'm like, oh, I would never want to. Yeah. Okay. Well, years later, I'm like, oh, I get it. I get it now.
Yeah.
You rascals, you're onto it.
Dude,
yeah.
I have a cracked cymbal still, and I still play it in Big Infant, and it sounds awesome, dude. It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
There's like, it's kind of one of those happy accident moments, where you mentioned it, like the floor tom, and there's different times where you could have like a cheaper cymbal. I remember I had like a stack of something for a little while that I was messing around with when I practiced, and it was all cheaper things, but I threw it together and I'm like, whoa, this sounds sick.
Yeah.
So Yeah, every once in a while, man. Something will help you out.
Hell yeah.
Stand out for us.
Yeah.
But I mean, where do you want to start as far as like band wise? You think Tzompantli?
We could do. I have a selfish question. Something I'm just curious about because I know you said you're in El Salvador right now. I'm not going to sit here and claim I've got a bunch of connections to El Salvador, but I used to teach in DC, and I had a lot of students who were from El Salvador in that area, and I learned a whole lot about the cultural things and just different aspects of life there and just culture there and getting to know all those things. So I'm just intrigued. You being there, I got to imagine that's, like you said, it's special. That's got to just be super damn cool for you to be able to be like, I get to come here. I remember watching an interview with you. It's been a while. I think it was the first time you guys played Salvador.
Oh yeah.
And you guys played there, and like I just remember you saying, like, I think you said your dad was there. Like like I said, that's all got to be super special. But like when you're there right now, like when you go there, like what are those things that you just make sure you make time for because you cherish them, that they're just special to you? Because like, man, I can't be here all the time. So while I'm here, this is what I want to be doing. This is what I want to enjoy. This is the meal I got to eat or whatever it is while you're there.
Well, meal, like to answer that one first. I mean, you guys probably know pupusas are like world famous.
Dude.
And there's not a person alive that I don't think that doesn't like a pupusa. Like, and there's so
get them out of here if they do.
Dude,
get them out of here.
Dude, there's so many ways that they could be made. Like, you could find something that you might like.
Yeah.
And they're just amazing, dude.
Yeah. And I miss that so bad. That's the big. I mean, to me, truly, not living in DC anymore, I'm like, I would have like every other day I'd have fresh pupusas brought to me, and I was like, I love this.
Amazing.
And no more.
Yeah.
No more. Like I've gone through withdrawals. I'm just pessimistic by nature.
Damn. Yeah, no. So I always have that. I always for sure go and try and find the best spots and just just enjoy it, and because they're much different than back home. They're smaller. Yeah, because in America, Salvadorians go to America and they're like, oh, we got to make these fuckers big. Like everything's bigger.
Super size. Yeah.
So like in El Salvador, it'll probably be like this big, like small, like like the size, maybe like like a corn tortilla, like a regular corn tortilla, maybe even.
Okay.
And yeah, so I always try to eat that, and then there's other like a typical breakfast. It's like a must-have. It's basically beans, black beans, eggs, cheese, like a special kind of cheese that we have down here. Plátanos fritos, which is like fried plantains. And then I'd say that's and then French bread. There's a certain type of bread. It's like little loaves like this. Like nice, cute little fucking loaves of bread. And are
they like Portuguese rolls?
No, they're like long like this. It's weird. Like I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But they call them pan francés, which translates literally to French bread. But I guess there's different types of French bread. I don't know. I just know that it just became part of the cuisine. I don't even know the origin of how it became part of the Salvadoran cuisine, but it's a staple. Sure. And then the other thing that to answer your other question, what I try and always do when I'm here is really just like wherever I'm staying, like walk around and talk to the people that live in the town, and just shoot the shit with them. And and then like halfway through, they always ask, they're like, "Where are you from?" Because I don't, my Spanish is good, and I don't have a problem communicating, but my accent is not there. And and then I'll get tripped up on certain words, where I'm like, oh fuck, like I don't remember this word and how to say it. But anyway, they'll be like, oh, where are you from? And then I'll tell them, oh, my parents are from here. I come here like pretty often. And then their face completely changes. Like they're like, oh, like that's so cool, and then we just like instantly bond. Like there's a thing in El Salvador. It's like I don't know. You guys know the history. I know this is a long answer, but I think like with the history of,
Go ahead.
I think with the history of this country, like what led people to flee in the 80s to America in huge numbers, and then they see the kids of those people who fled, you know, for a better life,
Mhm.
you know, come back and then enjoy it and love it and just cherish it. To the people who didn't leave, they're just so like, just like they love it. Like they're like, man, like you have like pride that you're from here, like you love it here, like you like bring the name up of the country, you know, like, and forget political shit aside. I'm talking about just the common person that lives day to day here. Like those are the people I cherish and that I try to like connect with, you know, and like and just try and see myself in them and be like, hey, like if my parents never left, I would have been born here.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And my family had no ideas of leaving here. Like they were forced to go.
Mhm.
And you know, and I think about that all the time. I'm just like, dude, like I would have never went to, I would have never been born in America. I would have been another dude around here doing who knows what. And I just like, you know, in a way I'm grateful. I'm really grateful, you know, but then part of me is like, would it have been so bad, you know, if you know, if they never left and I grew up here, you know?
Mhm.
I try and bring myself back into that and just like get into the mode of, you know, I do belong here, you know, I am here, like I'm from here, you know. Like a friend of
Yeah.
mine said, I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, when I go to El Salvador, like I always tell people my parents are from there. She goes, you're from there too. She's like, you might not have been born there, but like you're from there too. Like you have just as much, you know, like right to say you're
Yeah.
Salvadorian. So I don't know. I just
No,
love here, man. I just love coming here, and I really feel one day, like when it's time to retire, I feel like I'll probably retire in El Salvador.
that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
sick.
thanks so much for taking the time to share that with us. Like I said, I just, you know, I wanted to just check in with that because you know, like I said, I got to imagine that's a pretty cool, like you said, too, to have that
Yeah.
opportunity to be in this band that can bring you there and like help you, like, you know, have a reason to get down
Yeah.
there, right? And have a vehicle to get down there and a means to get down there. So that's just awesome. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. Thanks.
Can I say one more thing about that real quick?
Absolutely.
There's the really wild story of when we first came down here. So long story short, I know I could go on forever, but my dad. So when my parents got divorced, my dad moved back to El Salvador, and I didn't see him in about 8 years, I'd say. And it was kind of, you know, like a rocky thing, you know, didn't really talk at all. But anyway, fast forward 8 years, we played down here for the first time. And I see my dad after 8 years for the first time.
Oh man.
I had never been to El Salvador before that. And so I hit him up and I was like, hey, like, you're not going to believe this, but I'm going to be in El Salvador in like 2 days. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, yeah, I'm going to be there in 2 days. My band is playing in El Salvador. He's like, no shit. He's like, no way. I was like, yes. I was like, you better be at the bus station to pick us up. Like, what the fuck? He's like, all right. And then so there's a whole crazy story. Long story short, I get stopped at the border because I didn't have this stamp that I was supposed to have. And then anyway, we figured it out. So we're on our way. And then I see my dad, he's there. And I remember like we went back to his place and it was us and Alpha and Omega that were on tour together.
Oh yeah.
And so we're all hanging out at his house and me and him go and talk in his room. And I was like, Dad, can you believe the fact that I'm in this country for the first time because you bought me my drum set? It's like,
Dang.
if it wasn't for
So
you,
sick.
drum set all those years ago, I wouldn't be here right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And my like totally lost it. He lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Cool moment. Cool moment.
I always have to tell that story because it's just insane, like how that worked out. Like, yeah,
Like full circle.
it's crazy, dude. It's so wild to me. But yeah, that's a cool story about all that.
Awesome.
Now, like this time when you come back, you know, did he tell you like, now you have to buy me the meals this time? You guys are coming through here again. No more special treatment.
Well, I would have, but he moved back to the States.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dang. Relatively, like, was it soon after that show, like that you initially saw him there?
I'd say like maybe like a few years after that.
Oh, dang, no
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah.
Wow.
So my,
Man.
my my dad, I mean, he loves both countries. You know, I mean, he grew up more
Mm-hmm.
in the States than in El Salvador. You know,
Yeah.
like he left. They left when they were like 18. So and
Oh,
so
wow.
he like so to him like it was crazy. Like when he was here, when I was here, he was like, "Man, I miss back home, man." And back home is like that's home to him.
Yeah.
And he's like I miss California, man. I miss LA. He's like I think I need to go back and
Well, I think, it's another kind of like moment to mention too, as far as within that story, is that you hear certain times where people go and they come back to a homeland, or they come back to a place, like your story that you're mentioning, and they don't have such a positive experience, or they have people that are like, hey man, like whatever, and I mean it's awesome to be able to hear that,
Mm-hmm.
and especially, I mean, having embrace and having like a positive feedback from that too. So I mean, how sick, and to be able to come back a couple of different times as well. Let's see here. I think we lose you. Right.
it's a little choppy though, the video, but
Let's see here.
Are we back?
Little connection issue.
While we're doing this, can you hear me okay still? I had to take my earbuds out. You can hear me all right?
Yep.
Might need to.
If anything, we might have to pause this and then come back and we got you, dog.
Are we back? Are we good?
yeah, I can hear you guys.
Cool.
All right, sick, awesome. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, cool. And it's awesome. I mean, as far as like you mentioned, kind of the wraparound of the initial drum set and being able to travel and different things. So I mean, with that, and with us kind of getting together today with music, in mind, Tzompantli. You recently, within the last few years, have gotten connected with these cats, right? Like you weren't initially on the roster there.
No. So Brian, he's the original guitarist for Xibalba,
Mm-hmm.
and he started this project, and yeah, like I'd say, I want to say maybe sometime last year, he hit me up and was like, "Hey, you want to play on the first show?" Yeah, it was the first show, and I was like, "Dude, yeah, totally." Like, I mean, we started Xibalba together, me, him, and Nate, our singer, and I was just honored for him to ask me, and like I was like, "Hell yeah, dude." And it was also really sick because I'm not actually playing a drum set. I'm just playing percussion. So, yeah, hey, and I got to see what it's like to be in Slipknot for a second.
Well, I was gonna say, actually, have there been more than the one show that was the $20
Yeah,
spin showcase?
yeah, I played. There was, let's see, there's 2, 3. So I played 2 shows with them. Yeah, there's only been 3 shows, and
Gotcha.
oh no, sorry. Yeah, I've only played 2 shows with them. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Well, because when I watched that show, when I was like, I've watched the video, the $20 spin showcase, and I'm watching it, it just brings me back to like, I didn't think Slipknot per se. I thought of like Sepultura back in the day with like Kiowas and like the
yeah,
tribal jam that they would do, and they'd have
Oh
everyone come
yeah.
out, and and I just saw that, and I was like, first off, I was so bummed. I was like, why can't I live in LA? Like, man, that would have been such a dope
Yeah.
ass show. Just like, I mean, the power
yeah,
of it came through my mind. You know what I mean? Like, for me, when I can watch something on YouTube on my
yeah,
computer and just even in that setting, my adrenaline starts pumping and I start to like get, like goosebumps, and it's like I can hear those toms just pumping.
yeah,
I'm just like, man, I could not imagine to be a person in that room
dude.
that night. That had to be one of the sickest sets for like just like I said, just those added elements of the extra percussion, just
Awesome.
so dope.
It's awesome, man. I love playing with Tzompantli live, and yeah, dude, like the energy in the room is just undeniable, and it's just like when I look around and I see all the homies there next to me like doing their thing, I'm just like, dude, this is badass, dude. I was like, we got our faces painted, like we look sick, like yeah, it's just awesome, dude. It's so different from what I've always been used to. You know, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
your guys' video froze.
Oh,
No, I think we're still good. You're coming through loud and clear.
All right.
We're set, yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, like it was, you know, for me, it's super awesome to do, and fun, because it's so different from everything else. You know, like all the other bands I've been in the past, it's just straight, you know, just playing straight drums, and just, you know, just doing whatever the song needs, and and in this way, like I really get to like, for one, the pressure of being a drummer and having to perform, like, you know, it's not really there. I'm just, you know, hitting a floor tom, doing some backing vocals, and then I'm just chilling the rest of the time on stage, just looking sick.
I was gonna say, I was like, I loved it. You doing backup vocals and just like the constant headbang. I was like, this is so. I have got to get to a Tzompantli gig at some point, because I'm like, the energy's just got to be real. Like that's got to be such a dope atmosphere.
Rips.
Yeah, man, that's what friends have said. They're like, dude, that shit's badass. Like, you guys need to keep this going, and we are. So there's a new LP. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that yet, but yeah, I think it's finished. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not, but
we can edit it, brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We can
Someday,
get it pulled for a second.
like there might be something someday.
Eventually, you know,
Eventually there'll be something.
anyway.
yeah. So it's cool.
New music.
I got to perform on that live, on the record. I got to perform on the record. I got to do some cool tribal parts. I did some backing vocals on there. Yeah, and it was just kind of sick because Brian, you know, he's like, hey man, he's like, tribal drumming has like always been your thing. You know, like, you know, even in Xibalba, like I would just come up with random parts. You know, just we'd be practicing. I'd just start just fucking around on the toms, and that's how we would write songs. And like, you know, or at least like certain parts of songs. And that's kind of what he did there. He's like, hey, this part needs a drum, like a tribal drum part. Like, just go off, do your thing. And I was like, hell yeah, dude. And so I'm really stoked I got to do that.
Dang, that rips.
That's awesome.
I mean, so we can say at some point, you know, new material coming out, and it was something, you know, that you were involved in, and it sounds sick. I mean, I'm excited, man. Like the previous, you know, stuff that they had put out, rips, absolutely heavy, absolutely bestial.
Yeah,
there it is, my baby.
Pick it up
you
if
know
you
what I'm saying.
haven't. This album is insanely good.
hell yeah.
Rips, man. Yeah, and so new stuff is going to be, I mean, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. Is there any sort of time frame that you have, or that has been, you know, like kind of like talked about as far as maybe a single or something being dropped? And if not, you know, we could just move on, brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We don't need to be spilling.
Yeah,
beans.
I really can't say. I don't know. I
yeah, cool.
Play the floor tom, man.
Listen, man, you know, once this material comes out and you guys start playing shows again, and I see that you're playing on a keg too, we're gonna know where this inspiration came from, brother.
Yeah, we know.
We all know now. No. In all seriousness, like, you know, Jeremy had already kind of like spilled them out. You know, that energy and the overall kind of fatness that comes along with, you know, the additional like drums to that, you know, that additional kind of energy. Those shows look real, man. So it's exciting to see, you know, what you guys have going on for future shows and newer music, you know, whatever that looks like. So sick. You know, in a completely, you know, like 360 turn, we have Big Infinite,
180,
and now this one
180 turn.
Whatever, dude. 540, 720. Who's counting?
Yeah, okay.
Jesus. Oh, we're not mathematicians here. That's why we play music. Come on now. Big Infant. Dude, now I had to be introduced to this band. I had not heard of the band, you know, prior to us, you know, like kind of getting in contact. And man, am I like happy. This is so unique.
Yeah.
Described as 4 unbearable Nick Lickers coming together to chief it big underneath a rotting California sun. What can you tell us about this band coming together, brother?
And it's the dudes in the band are just weirdos. It's honestly one of the funnest bands I've ever played in. And it's just so off the wall. It's so wild. It's just so like just no real like boundaries really. Like, and I guess like our ultimate goal is just like just to be like weird and just like not really care if like a part is this or that genre, you know, like and just kind of just do whatever the fuck we want. And so yeah, like the dudes in the band, I've known them since like back in the day. I'd say like 10 years ago, but we used to kick it a lot back then. But then we kind of went our separate ways. And then the guitarist Justin, I reconnected with him about a year or two ago, and he started telling me, he's like, "Hey man, remember Chris? You know, the singer slash guitarist?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Dude," he's like, "me and him are working on some stuff, and we want to know if maybe." This is after like we had already talked, you know, like a couple times, and then we hung out again. He's like, "Yeah, like we wanted to know if you want to like try out, and like we're looking for a drummer, and you know, like it'd be sick if you want to try." And I was like, "All right, yeah, send me the music." And then so he sent me the music, and I've told them this, so this is nothing that I haven't said to them already. I didn't like the music at all. I thought the vocals were weird. I thought like it was all just like way too weird for me, and I was like, yeah, I can't play this shit. And um, not that it was too hard. It's just like I was like, yeah, I don't want to play this. You know, this is just like odd. And then, but then I kept listening to it, and each time I listened to it, it grew on me more and more. And I was just like, dude, I was like, what is it about this shit that I can't stop listening? Like, is it his voice? Is it the riffs? Is it the structure of the songs? Like, something was just like keeping me wanting to like continue listening to it. And then it wasn't until our first practice that I was totally sold. I was just like, I mean, I was also pretty high. So we all smoked a lot of weed. So yeah, it was really that. And I remember just like watching Chris sing and play guitar. And mind you, this dude's 6'7", and he's just a monster of a human being. And he just looks wild, just like playing guitar and singing his ass off, you know. And like as I'm playing, that's when I was like, all right, I'm in, I'm down, you know, like this is it. Like, so after that practice, I told him, I was like, yo guys, if you guys still want me in the band, I'm in, I'm sold. And they're like, oh really? They're like, oh sick, dude, hell yeah. And from there on, we just like went full steam ahead and practiced like every Monday for like 3 hours, and just like just went at it hard, and then recorded our LP that came out last year. And we kind of just did everything like on a timeline. We're like, oh, by like June, July, we want to like play our first show, and then have the record out by this time, and just kind of, you know, just do it like that. And it's been great, man. I love it.
That rips, man. You know, and like it's funny coming from somebody in the band that I felt like I was that same way, where like the first time I'm listening to it, I'm like, this is, I mean, there's just something that is absolutely out of this world about this. And not even to say that it almost reminded me of like kind of Primacy. Like it's not to say that it's like completely goofy, you know, way out there. But there's a talent behind it too. And there's certain aspects of this, you know, where I sit here like, you know, we're going to kind of get into Mondo Gargantuando. I'm at the gym and I'm listening to this, dude, and I'm just like lifting.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just in the best way. Like, honestly, like you mentioned, I mean, just some of the catchiness, some of the, you know, some of the licks, some of the stuff to it. I love that, you know, that we're kind of in the same headspace about it. And now you're playing in the band. That rips.
Yeah. Like shit like that. I was like, dude, what's this song about? Like, and then Justin, because him and Chris, like they co-write everything, and I just came in and learned the songs. And I mean, I switched some things up that weren't on the original demos, and they gave me a lot of freedom to do whatever I wanted. But I tried to keep it pretty close to the original drums, just because like I felt like some of them didn't need to be changed. But on some parts, yeah, that were like it's kind of when you play, like you kind of just can't help but just do your thing and what just feels right to you. But anyway, yeah, I asked them about that song, and they're like, dude, I don't even know what the fuck that song's about.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Same thing for me. Like I remember listening, like when I listened to it, same thing. I didn't really get in touch with it till I was preparing kind of for this interview and sitting down with you. So I've been checking it out, and my first glance was just kind of thinking like, yeah, okay, this is kind of like a slimier punk kind of thing. It's got a little bit of that, like a fuzzed out punk, a little sludgier punk.
Yeah.
But then more I listened to it, I was like, wait a minute, no, it's not. Like this is almost like alternative metal at times. I'm like,
There's like some,
it's like very
artsy
Melvins-y.
elements.
Like there's some
Yeah.
Melvins things going
Totally.
on, and like it's just like I was like, this is crazy because there's moments where it's like this is straight up out of like mid '90s alternative metal, like kind of stuff, or almost like grunge metal.
Yeah.
But like just like you said, like it's there's elements of it that could make it odd. And if you didn't really think about it, you'd be like, "Whoa, that's weird. Why is he there? What is he doing now?" Or there's some clean kind of yelling part, and then, but I think as a whole, it's like this makes total sense. It is weirdo music, but it's like, but it's not like it's
So
not.
good.
But I don't think it's eccentric, right? It's not like you listen to it and you're like, "This is very avant-garde."
No.
It's like, no, this is these things. There's riffs, there's hooks, there's jams. Like there's a structure here. There's a rhyme to the reason. Like. And like like I said, like you said, it is kind of all over, but it's not. It never feels like avant-garde or prog or anything like that. It's like it's rock and roll, really.
For sure, yeah, and that's what I just tell people. Like I just tell them like, yo, it's a rock band, dude. It's just like, I mean, there's so many elements to it that when you listen, like that you'll like, that anybody will like and appreciate it. I mean, there's some heavy ass parts in some of the songs. That are just straight, like, I mean, you can mosh to it, I mean, for me, I like them. I like those heavy parts, but like I guess in my head I try to not think of it as like a Xibalba breakdown, where I typically would play, I try to add a little more like, I don't know, like groove or like rhythm to it, I guess. Which I mean I also do in Xibalba, but like I don't know, I try not to think of it that way because it's not the same band, but but it's still it's still heavy, it's still got that heavy low end, and but yeah, I just love the variety of the band. Like for me as a drummer to play that music, it's so fucking fun, man. It's so fun. I'm using single pedal, and I'm just and I'm just going off, and just like the energy is just high. Just cranked, and our live shows, like we fucking go off, man. We just play, and
all right. So I think for whatever reason these lives cut off at an hour now. Which I don't know if that was like a thing. I knew it was before, but I mean I've been doing these for like 5 years and it hasn't been doing that. So for whatever reason now it does that. So
thanks a lot.
We got it all set. I mean, really quick, while we're still on with Big Infant here, do you have some time to continue on? I know this is going a little bit longer. Okay, I just wanted to make sure for you. Zorch, if you could even if we don't even know, maybe it's more fun to just hear your imagination and to where this goes and what does that mean to you, Zorch, the album title.
So Zorch essentially means like kind of like you're burnt out, you're like you're a burnout, you're smoked out, you're just like fucked up, you're just like yo dude, what's wrong with this guy? He's fucking like, you good, man? Like you're just Zorch, dude. You're Zorch. It's just like you're functioning, but like you're like it has a lot to do with like kind of being like bummy, kind of being like scummy, I guess, a little bit, and it has a lot. There's a lot of like high connotations, like being high and like weed and shit, and like you know, you just feel. I don't know if you guys smoke weed or not, but you just kind of
I don't, but I can relate in different levels.
you know, you just feel zorched. You just feel zorched. You're just like, you know, and
Sometimes I feel zorched.
yeah. It just makes sense, man. I don't know how to describe it. It just
Perfect.
yeah.
No, that's more than I can ask for. I love that. I mean, do you have anything you know, as far as like particular tracks? I guess another standout track to me was Lords of
Oh,
Blow. That track,
oh.
a finale, album. You know, anytime an album raps on a note like that track, it's a hit for me, and I love that. You know, you have any sort of additionals, you know, for that song?
For that song, I
Or any of the album that, you know, that particularly interests you, you know. Even.
I one of my personal favorites is "Work the Boss," the second song.
Oh yes.
Just dude, the beginning intro or the beginning drum part, just the bum 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 bum. I love playing that shit live. And then the other song that I really love playing live, but we kind of don't play it too often because it's really long, is "Where's Waldo."
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and
Okay.
I love that song so much because I've always wanted to play blues, and that song's kind of like a blues song. You know, it's got that really bluesy riff, you know, that kicks it off. And that's kind of my song that, like, on the record when we're recording it, I really was just like, man, I need to, for my own selfish reason, I need to show off on this song. I need to like try and just like do something here that, you know, I normally don't do, you know, and I love that song, just because like it's so free flowing and like you could just get into it. You just ride that song. It's just the riff is so sick, and it's just so fun for me, man, to play. Like I said, in that band, there's really no rules, and there's no like, oh, like this part's not, you know, like if you're playing in a hardcore band, it's like, oh, dude, that's not what we do.
Yeah.
You know, like we can't have that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this band, nobody gives a shit. Like, and you know, but we will be like, hey, like this part doesn't really work, but let's find a way to make it work. You know, like let's not just throw it in because, you know, you had the idea, you know, but we'll try and find a way, or we'll just make a whole nother song from that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, was this like a studio kit as far as like the recording, you know, process with this?
Yeah.
Or was this yours or? Okay.
No, it was a studio kit. It was a Pearl BLX, Pearl BLX kit. So the sound guy, the engineer, he sent a list of all the drums he had, and that's one of the ones he sent. And I looked it up because I mean I've always loved Pearl, and I didn't know about that kit, but fucking amazing sounding kit.
Dang.
I love that kit.
Yeah, I'm not
And
familiar.
I think it's from the 80s. I think they stopped making it like in the late 80s, early 90s. And then the snare that I used is a Ludwig Coliseum steel snare.
Oh man.
It's an 8 by 16, I think.
So
Or 8 by no, sorry, no. 8 by 14.
Dang. That's still big, dude.
Yeah.
8?
Yeah.
Holy man. Yeah, I mean, it's just about a time, brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the Xibalba sound, that's right, right there with it.
Yeah, that snare is gnarly, dude. It's wild. And then I used the Paiste cymbals that he had in studio. Okay. I think I used one of mine, which is a Sabian Ride, but it's like one of their like thinner ones, you know. So I use it as a crash, and I used it for Xibalba too. But it's still heavy enough, you know, that it doesn't sound too thin, you know, when you're you know, crashing on it or riding on it too for a long time. But the majority of the other cymbals that I played on that record were Paiste. The big beat line. I don't know if you know about that one. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The ride cymbal on that record, man, is I need to buy that exact ride cymbal that I use because that's how much I love it.
Is it like a 21 or 22? Because those I think are pretty big, just like standard.
I think it's 22.
It's a big boy.
I have a 22 Sabian that I use with Xibalba. It's Sabian. It was Neil Peart's line. It's a Paragon.
Yeah, Paragon.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
That rips.
So
and that's your ride, you're saying, or your crash?
That's my ride. For
Those
me,
have nice bells on them.
Yeah, super nice bells. For me, I think 22 is, me personally, I think rides should be no smaller than a 22-inch.
That's buying a whole new gig bag, brother. You know what I'm saying? That's a remortgage. That's a refinance on the apartment. Yeah. That's a big boy. Maybe a back surgery for the load in.
Oh yeah.
Dear Lord, 22. That's a big boy. Holy moly! With the crashes too, like even your I don't want to say by day gig. I mean, because I feel like you do a lot more with your Xibalba live, right, than the other two bands.
Oh yeah. So for Xibalba, my sizes are 14 hi-hats from left to right. Left is 18 crash, 19. So I use 3 crashes. I have the 18. Yeah, the 18 on the left, 19 in the middle, and then 20 on the right.
Okay. Are they all the same line, or are they different?
No, I have a mixture of Meinl and Sabian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say I could see the Meinl. I wasn't seeing the Sabian, but that must have been what you were mentioning, the ride. What about the China?
China is also Sabian. It's the Holy China.
Oh yeah.
I love that thing, man. I've had like 2 other ones in the past, and I just fucking love that China so much.
Is that like a 19 or 20?
The one I have right now it's pretty small for me. It's I think it's an 18 or a 19. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
I normally in the past I would use a 20-inch China and just beat the shit out of that thing. Which I'll eventually get another 20-inch China, but for now I think it's 18, 19, I forget. But
dang.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that rips. I love that. I mean, your earlier mentions, I guess, as far as with Xibalba, how do you remember, these first conversations coming about from that band coming together and the idea?
So me, Nate, and Brian, we had our own. There was 2 bands that Xibalba was born out of. One was Brian's like straight edge hardcore band, Time for Change, and then the other band was me and Nate's band, which was like a melodic hardcore band when we were like 17, whatever, like 18 years old. It was called Out of Heart, and like just the basic run of the mill, just early 2000 melodic hardcore shit. And we played our first like out of town shows with that, like out of state shows. So we got a taste for that, and me and him wanted to keep it going. And so both those bands broke up, and we were all friends already. So that was honestly the longest time I've gone without being in a band. Was the year from when the one band broke up to when Xibalba started was 1 year, and that's the longest I've ever gone without being in a band. And from when I started my first band in freshman year, and I was lost. I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, what do I do? And they started talking about it, and then Nate was like, hey, like, are you playing with anybody right now? I was like, nah, I'm not playing with anyone. And he goes, yo, I was talking to Brian. He goes, and he wants to start something. Maybe we could jam. And so, yeah, we had our first jam session, and I think we wrote a song. I think we wrote Bright Sun, our first practice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang.
So was that, when you say wrote at first practice, I mean, was that one of those kind of impromptu, like, let's pull some
it's just
riffs
getting
out and just start
better.
jamming, and then like by the end of that practice, like that song had a pretty like it kind of went from nothing to having, or was it like Brian already had like like a lot of ideas and you guys just had to put them together?
Brian had a riff, and we kind of just built it from there. And by the time we were done, we are just like, oh shit, like we pretty much like have a full song here. Like we just need to like, fix some parts up and stuff, and and we'll figure it out from there.
Damn, that rips, man. Like honestly, it's one of those things that I love. I think with the band is being able to go back and listen to the earlier stuff, the first LP, and then still listen to the newer stuff and feel that same energy, feel that same heaviness. That first LP still rolls, dude. I mean, I'm listening to that thing again. I don't know, for the first time in some time. I mean, like you guys keep on releasing things, and I just find something else to get obsessed with for like months on end, and then kind of go back to. So yeah, I mean, just the sound and everything. Like, what as far as these conversations, from you guys, how did you settle on this almost like? God, I don't. What would you say, Jeremy? Like from us, just like fans, like death meets hardcore. I mean, like there's like a mix, but all in all, it's way.
I mean, to me, yeah. I mean, yeah. Obviously, there's like you can tell that. Like to me, when I think of Xibalba, it's like that, like crowbar world of like a crowbar-esque doom or sludge, like not too doomy, but like crowbar doom.
Yeah.
And then bringing in clearly there's like those like death, like you've referenced Morbid Angel, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the heart of it, like we're a hardcore band. Like at the heart of what we're doing when we write a song, when we structure. But even then, well, and I don't want to sidetrack this because I know you're getting somewhere, Eric. But like my thing that even on that note, you dudes have always felt like you make your own rules and you play by your own game, and like it's not about like you said, in a hardcore band, you kind of like there's like those rules, like there's rules we follow, and I'm sure in Xibalba it's different than Big Infant. It's like well, that part's not heavy enough. Like get that shit out of here. It's not heavy enough. Like our rules are different. But my point is it like from a touring perspective, from a release schedule perspective, from how you guys do things, it's just always felt like Xibalba's way or the highway kind of thing. Like we're gonna do it the way we want to do it, and that's just kind of how we're gonna do it. And we rock, so like people are going to have to deal with that. But so like, but like my point, because like you guys are a hardcore band at heart, but you'll throw a 6-minute song on there.
Yeah.
That's at home with any doom band or sludge band or anything like that. Like, so it's like you don't. So even when I said that out loud, it's like you don't follow a hardcore structure.
No.
It's just, but I think the ethos is there, right? Like we are a hardcore band. Yeah. We love this metal shit and like this heavy shit.
We came up through the hardcore scene. That's. For years, that's all we played with was hardcore bands. I mean, we still do, and and Nate, our singer, he's been booking shows since he was 15 years old, in the hardcore scene, and he's a huge staple in the scene still to this day. I mean, in LA, like, he's the guy, and I mean, there's a whole group of people that make shit happen, but he was definitely the one that started from being a kid, just not knowing shit and wanting these bands to play, in our town. And then boom, just like what he does now is just insane. So in that sense, we were so fucking lucky to have him be that guy in the scene, because he would book a show and then he would just throw us on as the opening band. So like that was like a huge thing for us that propelled us, forward, and eternally grateful for that. And I mean that just got us so much exposure. And I mean, as far as like the song structures go, we kind of like we do what we want, but I think like unconsciously or subconsciously we will like try and like cater a little bit the kids at the hardcore show want to hear that, hear that or see that live at least, or maybe we pick the right songs to play live, and but yeah, I mean, I think for me it's important to be kind of selfish in that way, like when writing a record, and not having to just follow what you think people want to hear. Um, aside from wanting to hear heavy ass shit and like just you know, like people when you listen to Xibalba, you know what you want to listen to. You know what you're gonna get into, and yeah, we have to bring that to a certain extent, but I don't want to just play the same record. I don't want to write the same record twice, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, and to your point, I mean, like I think you guys have done a masterful job of doing that, right? Like Eric alluded to that, like. You listen to that first EP and then going through with a couple splits, you know, the first full length, and then just keep going. Like every release, it's like, yeah, it's Xibalba. Like I know what I'm getting. It's not. There's no weird like, wow, there was like a 10-minute like dark wave synth track. I did. Oh, that was wild, right? Like you're not gonna get that, but like definitely like there's been. I've noticed like okay, we're gonna lean a little bit more into like this like death like our death metal influences and have more double kick and more trem pick kind of thing. It's it's not always going to be the sludgy doom thing with like the hardcore riffs. It's going to like I feel like those a couple of those middle albums it kind of let's lean more into the death metal stuff
yeah,
and the trem picking and the steady double kicks and stuff
totally.
like that. But like definitely I feel like you guys have done a really good job because it would be so easy, right? You could just be like, let's just have the heavy ass part with the doom part and that's what we do, copy paste, and I think people would be here for it. But it's like I feel like you guys have done an awesome job of just it's never stale, and each album is almost its own experience without being like way different. It's like it's cool in that way.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
No, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's been our approach every time. Like, and hey, people, as you guys know, you can look at the time in between each release. We take our time,
Mm-hmm.
and part of it is laziness. Another part is another part is like we don't want to write the same shit twice, and like we'll write one song. Sometimes will take us months to write, and we'll really like even though it's not there's our shit is not hard to play, anyone that plays guitar and drums and bass can play what I play what Brian plays, but the way that we play it is what's different, and it's the intent behind it is what's different, and like it's just that's just what's kept us in our own little like bubble as far as like who we are and what what our music is, and so in that way it does take us a while to write a song because like I said, even though there's nothing, you're not going to hear anything that you haven't heard before, right? You're going to hear a double kick, you're going to hear a heavy ass part, you're going to hear some crazy lyrics, but like it's just the way it's arranged is different, and we really try to like, hey man, like how can we switch this part up, like oh let's do this, do that, and it takes time, and I just don't want to ever put anything out that I'm not happy with, and I mean we all feel that way, so however long that takes, that's how long it takes.
Between
for sure.
Between the whether it's the LP releases or the EP releases, another thing too was always like the splits that you guys did. I'm like, dude, you have Incendiary, you have Suburban Scum, like when those come across, and I think like something that was sick even was like when I saw you, or Jeremy, were you at the show too with Backtrack?
Yep, I was at that show.
Track. I can't even remember who else was all.
Suburban Scum.
I really remember.
I think Suburban Scum played Expire.
No, that was in Chicago.
Oh, wait,
that was a different show.
What are you talking about?
This was
So maybe I'm talking about different shows.
Grand Rapids. It was Xibalba, Backtrack.
Was not there. I've only seen Xibalba. I saw Xibalba with
trying to think what that tour would have been even.
Philly at neck Kung Fu Necktie.
Comeback Kid, maybe.
Oh yeah. Comeback Kid. Who else was on that tour?
That's the only one I can remember.
We'll stick with those three. Yeah. My big thing was I had never seen you guys coming like that far East Coast, and I was like, that was where I was sold. I was like, yo, Xibalba's going to be there. Here I am. So I mean, that's always been something that's been sick too. Out of like kind of like a different reach of oh, I'm into Incendiary. I'm into like this kind of like East Coast New York hardcore, and then I hear this kind of juxtaposition of absolute pummeling heavy, like what Xibalba is, and just you get pulled in.
Yeah.
Initially I had a couple of tracks, off the side here, but I'm not trying to keep your whole day here. You have a beautiful backdrop, a beautiful country. You can be walking around. So, we're gracious for the time. I did really quick want to just mention the redo of FYP for Aslan.
Yeah.
And, how that came about as far as kind of a restructure and a re-record for the new EP.
So that was Brian. We've always loved it, and we used to play it all the time live. And for some reason, we kind of just like took it out of the rotation of the set list. But like I've always loved playing that song. And Brian was like, "Hey man," he's like, I was listening to it used to be called "Fuck You Pelon," and he's like, I was listening to that, dude. He's like, dude, that song rips, man. He's like, that song's badass. And I know the song, but I went to listen to it anyway, and I was like, damn, dude, you are right. That song is sick. And he's like, yo, I had an idea. He's like, let's like, he had the intro already, like that new intro, and then the rest of the song is like pretty much the same.
Yeah. Right.
But some of the lyrics, we Nate added some new lyrics, and we kind of took out that original. I think we took out the original speech that was in the original song. But yeah, like we just breathed new life into that song, and I love that song now. It's that I told Brian I wasn't originally sold on that intro, that long intro, but after recording and hearing it back in the studio, I was like, all right,
dude,
I'm fucking sold.
It hits.
Yeah.
I think it's something too where it's like it's not all the time in a Xibalba record you're hearing something like that, or you're hearing it like a clip or something. It's often I feel like Nate throwing some sort of insult to me to where I unfortunately don't speak fluent Spanish, but I look it up and I'm like, oh, I got to use this next time. Somebody crosses me. So I love that, and it was a little bit of a difference. And like I mentioned, that being on, that split with Incendiary there years ago, and then hearing this at the end of Aslan, I mean, Death and Revenge, dude, that EP rips, man. Absolutely. Like, congrats, to you guys for all these years. What was it? 2010, 2009 you guys started?
07. 07 was our first show. But 06 is when we like officially like got together and we're like, yo, like let's do this, You
got 2 years and it's 20 years, brother. How was that happen? Like,
dude, I don't know. I don't know. It's insane.
We're just kids.
And you're still just putting out sick tunes.
Yeah.
Like that.
We're just kids wanting to listen to Slipknot and wanting to play in our basement in our underwear, and here we are.
And we're currently working on new shit too, so.
Oh man, it's awesome.
Yeah.
God, I can't wait. Jason, honestly, from Jeremy and I, the opportunity, the time today, the beautiful scenery that you have, we're very envious. We're in Michigan in the winter, and it's gross and groggy. So we're gonna let you go, man, and appreciate the weather there. Thank you so much for the time.
Yeah,
I appreciate having me on. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We'll stay in contact here in like probably the next couple months or so. For anybody tuning in late, I'll have this. We'll have this edited and on YouTube and Spotify for watchers or listeners too. So once again, thank you so much, man.
Yep. Enjoy some pupusas for me, my man. Yeah. I'm missing out. I'm my withdrawals. Get an extra. I got to need an extra for my man Jeremy. Like no one can judge you. I need an extra for my boy Jeremy. So
right. I got
enjoy that for me.
All right.
Take it easy.